He was in here yesterday, that bloke I just served. He comes in every day, buys the same things. No change, no compromise. Ken, that's his name, by the way. He comes in here every day and buys 1 can of kidney beans, a reduced loaf, 2 pints of milk and a packet of bran flakes. The same thing every day for the past 27 years. I tell a lie, actually. He once bought a packet of bran flakes with raisins. I'll treat myself, he said. Sometimes the boat needs a good rocking, doesn't it? I suppose he was right, but it didn't last long, though. The raisins gave him terrible wind for the next 2 days afterwards, or so he told me at great length. I bet you regretted that, didn't you, Ken, love? I said. Oh, gracious, no. What's life without regrets, he replied. Every day's about something new and seeing if it's worth sticking with, he whimsically said before trumping Nelly the elephant on his way out of the shop. 27 years doing the same thing and picking up the same habits. Ken is one of many I've seen in this shop over the years. 27 years working in this shop. Where does the time go, eh? Where does it go indeed? I'm Tracy, by the way. Tracy with an E. Don't let my badge fool you. I've been telling Ravi, he's the bloke that runs this fine establishment, to get it changed for years, but he never does. I would have lost my rag with him and walked out in protest by now, but he does make the best cuppa. He's a laugh too, always cracking the bad dad jokes. I wouldn't mind, but he finds them funnier than I do. But still, we laugh because it's good that he tries so hard. Then there's Bernie, my best mate. She's been here since the year dot as well. Both of us, 17 years old, gushing over the Smash Hits magazines and craftily helping ourselves to the 20p mixes. I think Ravi noticed, but he didn't mind. He likes the company. Bernie and Ravi have been here through it all. Having kids, Nathan being mine, and having just started at university. Moving houses, family illnesses, and everything in between. Sometimes it's good to unload onto them. Makes everything more objective. Don't get me wrong, I have my Glenn, 25 years married. Married very young, I know, but it is what it is. We have our moments, but we also have our laughs. Enjoyed many a holiday in Marbella as a family, and a very active social life with the best friends. That was until the redundancy, and then things got a bit, well, tight. This woman came in today, slightly slim and dishevelled. She almost looked like she was in a rush, looking over her shoulder. I thought she was nicking at first, but then she walked over to the till. She would not look up at me at any time. I tried to do the normal small talk. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Be kind and all that. Lovely day out, isn't it, I'd say. What are your plans for today? Are you seeing anyone? But she wouldn't reply. Well, it was more like she couldn't reply rather than wouldn't. Strange woman, I thought. I then noticed that she was clutching this £5 note in her tiny hand. Nothing else. She had no purse, no bag, no phone, and let's face it, everyone pays by phone nowadays, don't they? There was literally her and this crumpled £5 note. Her shopping came to £5.25 and she looked embarrassed. It's only 25p, so I just said, bring it in next time you come in, love, Ravi won't mind. I mean, he would, so I was just going to put it in myself when she left. Share the wealth and all that. She suddenly burst into tears and ran out of the shop. I mean, who starts crying over 25p? I thought about that woman for the rest of the day. She looked like she'd never had a kind word said to her in all her life. Not 1 ounce of kindness or generosity, or even a happy thought. I think all that woman wanted was to have someone, anyone, say to her that everything was going to be okay. Seeing that woman shook something in me and made me think about my own life. Is this the life we've painted for ourselves? Asked Bernie. Where does our loyalty end and obligation begin? Bernie looked over as though she expected me to answer, but I couldn't. I just smiled at her and got back to stocking up on the scratch cards. "Are you cold today, Tracy?" Ravi asked me whilst munching on a Twix bar. "Yes, Rav, just a little bit on the chilly side," I replied. "It's flaming 70 degrees today, Tracy," he responded. "And if you boil any more in that fleece, I'll be able to serve you for lunch." "We'll get that air conditioner under control, Rav, and I'll take it off," I chuckled. Bernie looked over at me and gave me a sad smile. She walked over to me and held my hand reassuringly before she left for the day. Funny that, 2 women giving me sad looks on the same day, and all I could be was nice. I met my husband Glenn at a club called Mr. Smith's in Warrington around 1994. It's not there anymore, but we had some great times there early on. He was wearing one of those naff Burberry check shirts and his hair was a mess. I think he was trying to be like one of the Gallagher brothers or the Happy Mondays, but he was a big softie really. I had this dress on that Mum got me from the market or from the back of some dodgy van somewhere. He spilled his drink over me and couldn't dance for toffee, but I knew he was the one, dodgy shirt and all. He was my first love, my only love really. I suppose you could say we rushed it all, but when you're in love like that, why wouldn't you? We both had jobs, got our first house, got married, and had Nathan, all within 18 months. Some called us foolish, but we didn't care. We wanted to make it work. And when we did, we gladly stuck 2 fingers at them all and said, "Look at us now, eh?" Like every other couple, we plodded through, and when Nathan began living his own life, we spent more and more time together. When the kids grow up, what else do you have to talk about, they say. Ravi once got Bernie and me these pair of earrings, really nice ones as well. They were beautiful and clearly weren't cheap, which is funny because he still wouldn't give us a pay rise, but any road. I wore them for a night out Glenn and I were going on. "They look a bit cheap, don't they, Trace?" Glenn said. That took me back a bit really, as he'd always complimented me, even if he didn't mean it. But I saw what he meant and decided to leave them at home. Didn't give it any more thought. Then over the years, Glenn would continue to chip away with little remarks like that. Nothing overly cruel, and he would always say them with humour, so he couldn't mean them. Could he? That's what he was like, always the joker. But in my book, a joke is only a joke if the other party is in on it. I would try and raise it with him, but he'd just say that I was overthinking, or I was no fun anymore. I didn't realise I was being such a bad husband for laughing with my wife, he'd say. "You were putting up these problems, not me. Why are you obsessed with me attacking you?" he followed with. I could clearly see that I was upsetting him. Nathan had already left and I didn't want Glenn to go too. So I apologised and promised I'd never attack him like that again. I then passed him the earrings and he threw them into the bin. Probably best. They were a bit naff. Christmas came and went as it normally does. I was so excited for it as Nathan was coming home from uni and we were going to spend the day as a family. I got some really nice decorations and worked overtime here just to pay for it all. Glenn was no longer working, so I had to keep things going understandably. It was going to be the best Christmas I could have asked for, or so I thought. 3 hours and 18 minutes in and it all kicked off. Nathan and Glenn were arguing, and Mum was getting upset. Nathan had noticed a bruise on my arm. There was nothing to it, you'll have to understand. I had a bunch of tin beans fall on me in the shop, I pleaded to Nathan. Your dad loves me, he loves us all. He wouldn't do this. But Nathan wouldn't have it. Mum asked me to remove my cardie, which I gladly would have done normally as it was itchy as hell. But it was too cold. Very gently, Mum started to remove the cardie and had this look of horror on her face. This face of disappointment and rage at the same time. I stood there withering, crying, shaking, whilst trying to sort out this flaming Christmas dinner. They shouted and shouted at each other until Nathan finally left, along with Mum. Glenn said it was all my fault and asked me to leave the house until he calmed down. So there I was, Christmas Day, stood outside in the cold. I had no other friends at this point, so there was only one place I could stay. The shop. Ravi bought me a blanket and bought me one of those microwavable roast dinners. I sat and cried into that dinner all night long. Ken came back in today. First time in ages. I was starting to worry. He marched around the shop and started to pick up his normal items, but then to my surprise, he picked up the bran flakes with raisins again. I thought you didn't like these, Ken, I said. The last time you had these, we could hear your bum a mile off. He laughed and told me something I wasn't expecting, considering how he'd previously said about regrets. He said, "That's the thing when you try something new, darling. Sometimes they take another go, just to show how stubborn and serious you can be about change. Everything deserves a second chance." I thought he was talking rubbish at first, but maybe he's right. Everything and everyone deserves a second chance. Every day is a learning day. Whether this means a second chance for Glenn or a second chance for me, who knows? It's been a long time since I spoke to Glenn, despite numerous attempts on his part. And yes, it's good to get some time back for me too. I am still wondering if I could do any better at this point. Will I be that shiny toy in the shop window that everyone will spend hours wanting? Or will I just be the damaged goods back on the shelf? I can't answer that, and neither can you, I guess. But all I will say is that the most precious thing anyone can have right now is their life, their warmth, and most importantly, their self-respect. Yes, love, what can I get you?